Hello guys, my name is Anurag Roy and you are watching Law and Learning. So today in this video we will talk about another subject, that is Code of Civil Procedure. It basically defines the procedure that is adopted by the court in the civil cases. So let us go. It basically contains 11 parts, 158 sections, and these are the, you can say, chapters or titles under which these sections are provided. So in this video I will just take a look on these sections, like section 1 to section 8, which deal with preliminary. So without wasting your time, let's go started. It is very simple section, so let us start with it. It basically says that this act may be called a Code of Civil Procedure, and it came into force from first day of January 1909. It applied to whole of India except Jammu and Kashmir and state of Nagaland and tribal areas. But there is also a proviso mentioned here which says that state government may by notification in the official gazette extend any part of this code or any provision of this code to the state of Nagaland and tribal areas by making such modification as it thinks fit. So here the tribal areas, basically there is an explanation here which basically defines what it means. So tribal areas is a territory which immediately before 21st of January 1972 included in the tribal areas of Assam. So these territories are the tribal areas. The fourth talks about Amindivi Island, East West Godavari and Vishakhapatnam Agency in state of Andhra Pradesh and the Union Territory of Lakshadweep. This code and the provision of this code will apply to every these places without prejudice to the rules which are basically applicable there. So let us came with section 2, that is talking about definition, also known as definition clause. It's a very important one. It basically contains 20 definitions, a very important definition, and each and every definition play its important role in this code. So let us examine each and every definition. So first of all, the code is nothing but just include rules. The second one is degree. So once the court decide the matter and exclusively defines the right of the party and also solve the controversy that is in the suit, that is a degree. Degree are of two types, preliminary and final. Preliminary degree are the degrees which basically in which there are further proceeding have to be taken, but it become final once the proceeding have been completed. So this degree word includes rejection of plaint and section 144, that is talking about restitution application, but it does not include any adjudication from which appeal lies as an appeal from order, and also dismissal for default, any order which talking about dismissal for default. Here is the explanation which talking about the same what I have said. The preliminary degree is the degree in which further proceeding have to be taken. Once the proceeding have been complete, it will completely dispose of and it will become final degree. So to understand this degree, let us take an example. If there are four parties A, B and C, D, and they file a suit in a court in order to a land, let's say this is a land, and the court said in his decree that land should be divided into four parts, and each part should be given to every party, like this is for A, this is for B, but court not specifically mentioned in his decree that which part actually belong to which party. So in that case the decree will be preliminary. Once the court defines and specified in his decree that this part belongs to A and this part belongs to C, and it defined that every part of a land belongs to a specific party, then that degree will be final. So let's start with 3. The third one talking about degree holder. Once there is a suit in a court, let's say A files a suit in a court against B for any matter, and court decide the suit in favor of A. In that case, A will be a degree holder, the person in favor of whom the degree has been made by the court, and B become the judgment debtor against whom the degree has been made by the court. Here this is talking about same the person in whose favor a degree has been made, degree holder, and 10 is talking about judgment debtor against whom a degree has been passed or capable of being execution. So the fourth one is talking about district. Basically it is a local limits of the jurisdiction of principal civil court, here and after called district court, and also include the original civil jurisdiction of high court, but that should be an ordinary one. The fifth one talking about a foreign courts. Foreign courts is a court which is basically situated outside India and not established or continue by the authority of central government. That means every court outside India which is not under the authority of central government is a foreign court. Foreign judgment given by foreign court is the foreign judgment. The seventh talking about government pleader. It basically appointed by the state government to perform any function expressly imposed by this code, and also include any other person acting under the direction of the government pleader. 7A is talking about High Court. It basically defines that Andaman and Nicobar Island, in relation to these, the High Court will be of Calcutta. 7B is talking about India. It means the territory of India except Jammu and Kashmir, but these are the sections which are in exception. We will deal with them once we start in detail with each and every section. The eighth one is talking about judge. Judge is a presiding officer of a civil court. Judgment, the statement given by a judge on order or a decree, is a judgment. Judgment debtor, I have covered this, against whom the decree has been passed. So the legal representation is the 11th one, and it is the important one. We have to just note 3 things: that a person on whom the person who represents the states of a deceased party, who intermeddles with the state, or on whom the estate will devolve. Here estate means the property. On the death of the party, when the estate devolves, In these three things, the person in favor of whom the property will be devolved will be deemed as legal representative. 12th one is talking about man's profit, one of the essential and most important one. So if there are two persons A and B, and A is taking a wrongful possession of the property and actually receiving any benefit out of it, or might receive due to ordinary diligence any other benefit, that will be called as man's profit. But man's profit does not include any profit which is made by the improvement in the wrongful possession. The 13th talking about movable property. Here movable property, growing crops are also included in movable property. 14 talking about order. It basically the formal expression or a decision of a civil court which is not a decree. Here the order covers everything which is not a decree, and it is the expression which is formal expression of a civil court. It basically residuary clause. 51 is talking about pleader. It means any person who is entitled to appear or plead for the other person or on behalf of the other person in a court is known as pleader, and includes advocate, vakil, and attorney of high court. Here 16 talking about prescribed. Prescribed means prescribed by rules. 17 is the biggest definition. It basically defines what is public officer and who are included in it. So let us take a look. Every judge is a public officer. Every member of IAS, that is All India Service, is a public officer. Every person in a military, naval, air force of a union word is important, not of state but union, is a public officer. Any officer of a court of justice which basically investigate, authenticate or keep any document, or take charge of any property, execute any judicial process, administer any oath, interpret or preserve orders, and every person especially authorized by the court of justice to perform any of such duties will be considered as public officer. The E is talking about every person who holds an office by virtue of which he is empowered to place or keep any person in confinement. F is talking about every officer of a government whose duty is to inform the officer, bring the offender to justice, protect the health, safety and convenience of the general public. G is talking about the officer whose duty is to take, receive, keep any property on behalf of the government. There are many persons, officers who basically on behalf of the government take, receive, keep, expand any property. They are included in it. Or those officers which basically make survey, assessment, contract or execute any revenue process or investigate or to report on any matter which affecting the pecuniary interest, which make or also authenticate, keep any document related to pecuniary interest, or prevent any infraction of law in order to protect pecuniary interest, all these duties are performed by an officer, and that officer will be a public officer. So let us go with H, that is talking about every officer who is in pay or in service or in remuneration by fee or commission of the government in performing a public duty is a public officer. Now 18 is talking about rules, basically rules which are contained and formed in first schedule or made under section 122 and 125. We will go with the rules, that how they are made and how they are basically modified, that is provided under section 122 and 125 in detail when we go to that sections. 19 is talking about share corporation. It shall be deemed to include stock, debenture and bonds. 19 was talking about share in corporation. 20 is talking about signed. Here signed means and includes stamp of any decree or judgment. So let us come with section 3, that is subordinate of the courts. We have completed the definition clause. 3 is talking about that the High Court is on the top, under the High Court there is a district court, and every civil court of inferior grade to the depth of district court, and every court of small cause court is subordinate to both district and High Court. So basically there is on the top High Court, under which there is district court, under which there is a civil court of grade inferior, and the court of every court of small causes is under, or we can say subordinate to High Court and district court. Section 4 is talking about savings. It basically just in simple language says that in this code nothing will be affect any special or local law which is now in force, or any special jurisdiction or power, or any procedure which is prescribed. Basically it's in simple language says that if there is landlord or landholder and any one of them has a remedy to recover of rent from agriculture land, then this code will not affect any of the rules or any of that law which is applicable on them for the recovery or remedy, for the remedy that is of recovery of rent. Section 5 is talking about application of the code of revenue code. It not so important, but just specify that the code may apply, the provisions of this code will apply to the code of revenue in absence to rules and procedure which deals with these revenue codes. In simple language, if there are any other act or any other law which are silent on certain portion of revenue code, then revenue code may see and take a reference of code of civil procedure in order to fulfill their demands related to procedure. Section 6 talking about pecuniary jurisdiction. Here just simply saying in this section that no court will take or operate any cases or any matter, any suit whose amount and value is higher than that of a court. Means every court has its own pecuniary limits. Every court has defined its limit that a court will not exceed to decide any suit or matter. Section 7 is provincial small cause court, and this section is not so important, but just talking about that these provisions shall not extend to the court which is constituted under these acts. Here are certain acts under which there are certain courts created, and it basically says that these provisions are not applicable to those courts. It is talking about provincial small cause courts. It is also not so important, and in that case we have completed this part. So in this case we have completed section 1 to section 8 in detail. If you have any kind of question, you feel free to ask in the comment below, and I will continue making this series, and in the next video I will complete section 9 to section 35, which talking about suits in general. And don't forget to subscribe to be informed and notified once I made this video and upload. Hi guys, I hope you like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Subscription is like lifeline for me as I have just started this channel. Please let me inspire for making new and more videos. So please subscribe and like. Thank you.